Hey guys, in today's video we're going to talk about your dog's reactivity and figure out what some of the dog terms are that dog trainers love to use but might not be too clear for you. So one of them will be threshold and the other one will be trigger stacking. And both of those terms are super important in understanding your dog's reactivity and how you can start reducing it. Alright. Let's start with threshold. Dog trainers use the word threshold all the time, and what we mean with that is if this is your dog, and I'm not a good drawer, if that's your dog, I need to do, there we go, yeah, then the threshold is what distance can they see a trigger and not react to that. So for some dogs, that's right here. Like there's another dog and they're totally fine greeting that dog. Yeah, those would generally be non-reactive dogs. Now, for reactive dogs, usually the threshold is much further away. So some dogs might have this threshold. And this could be, I don't know, 30 meters, right? And if that's the case for your dog, your first challenge is going to be, how do I reduce this threshold? How do I make it smaller so now my dog is going to be fine with 20 meters? And then you want to be the goal 10 meters. Right? Like it's unrealistic to expect from your dog that they can go from 30 meters to straight up in their face. And some dogs will never get to that point. You might get to 5 meters and that's your dog's threshold. So we could kind of see it as a bubble around our dog. And for reactive dogs, that bubble is this big. And we want to reduce that bubble. So if we take ourselves back to social distancing, when it was COVID, everyone had a social distancing bubble, right? Whereas previously that was way less apparent for a lot of people. Now for reactive dogs, we want to lower the thresholds. And or a dog training video is talking about over thresholds. Means you went too far. You went into the dog's bubble space. Yeah, so this is your dog's threshold, and another dog came into that threshold, which means your dog will blow up. They'll start barking, lunging, crying, whining, going for the attack if you have a very, very reactive dog, right? So that's what over threshold means, and we want to work under threshold, which is here. Okay, how you do that, obviously that will be a different video, how you can reduce the threshold, but this is just about terminology, understanding why your dog is responding to some dogs from a certain distance and what this term means. Second thing we need to talk about is the term trigger stacking. Trigger stacking is something that has a huge influence on your dog's behavior and kind of explains why sometimes your dog is behaving perfectly and on other days you think everything you did is down the drain, like everything seems to be going wrong. Trigger stacking could be the reason for that. Now let's explain this first with a human example, because we also have trigger stacking. Alright, this is my jar or jug, and only so much fits into the jug before like they run over, right? So let's say for example you wake up in the morning and you woke up late. Now that's the first trigger of the day. Then you have a headache. That's the second one. You are driving to work and the traffic is awful. Now you're even more late than you already were. You get to work and your boss asks you to do something and adds to your workload and you don't really have time for it, but I mean you have to do it because it's your boss, right? Here we go. Then it's lunchtime and you spill food on your clothes. The rest of the workday goes alright. Now you get home and your partner decides that today is the day to not help you at all in the house or to expect you to do something because he has other plans. He's like, oh babe, can you just quickly do that because I had such a busy day and I don't feel like doing it right now. And what happens? Boom. You explode. And you might be like way overreacting than you would normally do. You might be like, oh my god, can't you just do this? I have one thing that I expected from you and you can't even do that, blah blah blah. You know, those fights that happen that afterwards you're like, oh my god, why did I overreact this much? Yeah, that's trigger stacking. If none of these things would have happened and you would have had a good day and your partner would have asked you, hey babe, can you please do the laundry because I don't have time? Then you would say, sure thing, hon. Not a problem at all. Disaster averted. But because everything's stacked up, you just had a bad day, and this is just the next thing on your list of things that was going wrong, you explode. Dogs have their own jug as well. And for a reactive dog, the jug probably fills a lot faster than for a non-reactive dog. So how could that look? Didn't get a walk in the morning because you were busy. That's the first trigger stack. Then the neighbor's kids were playing alongside the fence and knocking on the fence, winding your dog up. That's another stack. Then they vomited for no apparent reason. That's the next one. Then you accidentally stepped on their toe. It's another one. I'm just naming random things that are not nice for dogs. Then we go for the walk finally in the afternoon, but your dog is pulling like a freight train, choking himself out and winding himself up. That's the next stack. Now a dog came out of a random street. You have zero time to prepare for it, and your dog loses it. Right? That is trigger stacking. Of course, I'm naming examples that don't happen on the daily, but neither does your dog have to explode on the daily. And for some dogs, right, you don't need that many things to happen for them to explode. For some very sensitive dogs, it could be as simple as this. You step on their toe, they pull on lead, dog comes. Explosion, right? So what we need to realize is that if we had a good day with the dog, there is a chance that you take him for a walk and the walk is nice and relaxed, yeah, then that doesn't fill up at all because it's a nice relaxing walk. And then when we see a dog coming, maybe it does jump straight away up here because dogs encounters are hard for your dog, right? But then there isn't the explosion. Yeah, so that is what trigger stacking means. So if your dog is having an off day, it could be that a lot has happened in his day. Or nothing has happened. He's just bored out of his mind for that day. Now, how do we reduce trigger stacking? So if you feel like your dog has had a tough day, or you're like, oh, I think if I take him out now, it's just not going well. So some activities that you can do are enrichment activities. So puzzles, anything scent work, where they have to use their nose, licky mats, chewing. Yeah, if you want, check out my enrichment course. It's $10 New Zealand dollars, and you get 22 games with all household stuff, so you don't have to buy anything fancy for it. Enrichment course. You can do sniff walks. So instead of doing your block where you know that, oh, there's like 5 dogs behind fences that are going to be an issue, load your dog in a car, drive to a deserted place where there's no one, and just let him sniff his little heart out. Bring the stress levels down. Yeah. Other type of exercise. I never know how to spell that word. I'll try my best. Exercise. Sorry if it's a spelling mistake. Yeah. Exercise. Maybe you can play with your dog with a flirt ball in the backyard, or toss the ball for a bit. Play hide and seek, just something that burns their energy off, because maybe they're responding because they have pent up energy. Okay. Having enough sleep is also really important. For example, the trigger could be stacking because your dog hasn't slept all day, because you are at work and your dog is just like guarding the house the whole day, looking out of the window, barking at everyone that's coming by. Yeah, that is an issue. You might have to limit your dog's views and put them in a room where they can't look outside so they can sleep and be less grumpy, because I'm definitely grumpier when I don't sleep properly. You have a really reactive dog that you just need to cut the walks out for a while. What you want is to bring the stress levels down, the cortisol levels need to come down, and if you go for that walk every time, because people tell you have to walk your dog, but it's a nightmare for both of you, you're better off stop walking for a week and do tons of enrichment activities and relationship building and trick training at home, everything that's calming and fun for your dog, just to like baseline again before you start attempting to walk again. I hope this helps a bit with the terminology and dog training, because it can be really overwhelming and confusing. If you like this video, hit subscribe, like, comment. I'd love to know what you thought. Alright, see you next time.